Lucas grew up in a house where soccer was more than just a sport. It was a passion that ran through his family's veins. His dad, Joaquim, a former player who never got the chance to shine, had always dreamed of coaching a big team. But life's twists and turns forced Joaquim to let go of that dream, leaving it tucked away like an old, yellowed photograph in a forgotten album. Every Sunday afternoon, Lucas and Joaquim would gather in the small living room to watch their local team, União Atlético, play. It was a sacred ritual, always accompanied by popcorn, cashew juice, and Joaquim's stories about his adventures on the local fields. For Lucas, nothing was more exciting than watching his dad cheer for every goal, every dribble, every spectacular save by the goalie. But in recent weeks, Joaquim's voice had started to weaken. His hands trembled while holding the remote, and his once bright eyes began to close more frequently. Lucas noticed the changes but thought they were just signs of aging, until his dad was rushed to the hospital. The diagnosis was grim. A serious illness was advancing rapidly, leaving little time. That night, sitting by his dad's hospital bed, Lucas held Joaquim's hand. Joaquim, struggling, murmured, "Son, I always wanted to see our team win a championship, to see União Atlético shine, like I never could." His words were interrupted by a cough, but Lucas understood the weight of what was being said. There, in that cold bed, under the dim light of the hospital, he felt the impact of those words like a heavy ball in his chest. Determined, Lucas promised himself he would do whatever it took to fulfill his dad's dream. He knew it would be tough, maybe even crazy, but a fire ignited inside him. He had to try, for Joaquim, for everything soccer meant to both of them. With this newfound determination, Lucas left the hospital with one fixed idea: to find a way to become the coach of União Atlético, even if he was just a fan with no experience. Time was short, and he knew he couldn't waste a single second. Lucas started showing up at the União Atlético training ground every day. He watched closely, jotting down every play, every mistake, and every success in an old notebook. He talked to anyone he could about game strategies, read books on tactics, and watched videos of famous coaches. His enthusiasm caught the attention of a few, but most ignored or ridiculed him. After all, he was just a fan with no experience. The current coach, Martins, was especially skeptical. He saw Lucas as an unnecessary distraction, an enthusiast with no place in professional soccer. Martins was under pressure. The team had lost its last 5 games, and the atmosphere among the players was tense, with constant bickering and low spirits. Still, Lucas persisted. During training breaks, he would approach the players, trying to understand their frustrations, hopes, and dreams. Gradually, some began to see him differently, noticing his genuine passion for the team. One of the more experienced players, Carlos, a veteran defender, started talking to him. "You seem to know what you're talking about, kid," he said one day after a particularly disastrous training session. "But knowing what to say and knowing what to do are two different things." Lucas knew Carlos was right. He needed a chance to prove he could make a difference. But that chance seemed more distant until the inevitable happened. The team lost again, this time humiliatingly, and Martins was fired. The fans were furious, the management was in panic, and the team was on the brink of relegation. In an emergency meeting, the team owner, Mr. Araujo, a pragmatic man, found himself with no alternatives. He needed someone who could bring new energy, even if only temporarily, while searching for a permanent replacement for Martins. That's when Lucas, who had always positioned himself nearby, waiting for a chance, decided to speak up. He requested the floor and, with surprisingly firm voice, made his pitch. "Let me coach the team, just for one game. If we lose, I'll leave without complaints. But if we win, you let me stay. No one knows this team like I do. No one wants this win more than I do." The board members laughed, but Mr. Araujo, perhaps out of desperation or intuition, decided to give the young man a chance. "All right, kid," he said. "One game, just one, but don't expect any favors." Lucas left feeling a mix of fear and exhilaration. He had his chance. It wouldn't be easy, but his dad's dream now seemed a little closer. In the following days, Lucas threw himself into his new role. He knew his chance to stay as União Atlético's coach depended entirely on the outcome of the next game. The players, initially skeptical, watched him closely, evaluating every move and decision. He needed to win their trust, and fast. Lucas began changing the training routine. Instead of monotonous, repetitive exercises. He introduced activities that encouraged creativity and teamwork. He incorporated small games to develop quick thinking and spoke to each player individually to understand their motivations, fears, and aspirations. He knew he needed to build a real connection, something that would unite them around a common goal. Despite his efforts, distrust still lingered in the air. Many players, especially the younger ones, questioned his ability to lead. Some even made discreet jokes, calling him just a fan who got lucky. Lucas heard them, but didn't respond. He was determined to let his work speak for itself. But it wasn't just the players who represented a challenge. The local press, closely following União Atlético's situation, seemed more interested in the comedic aspect of his appointment rather than seriously considering his chances of success. Headlines like "Fan or Coach" and "Risky Bet" appeared in newspapers, undermining his credibility and increasing the pressure on him. Meanwhile, Joaquim's health was deteriorating daily. Lucas visited his dad every night after training, splitting his time between the field and the hospital. Each visit was a painful reminder of the promise he had made. One night, holding his dad's hand, he felt his own strength wavering. "Am I doing the right thing, Dad?" he whispered, looking at Joaquim's sleeping face. "Can I really make this dream come true?" That night, he had trouble sleeping, but woke up determined. He knew he couldn't give up now. At the next practice, he gathered the players in the middle of the field. "I know many of you don't believe in me," he began, his voice steady. "But what I'm asking for is just a chance to show that we can win together. Do it for yourselves, for the team, for the city, and if nothing else, for my dad." Lucas's words, full of genuine emotion, began to break down some of the resistance. Carlos, the veteran defender, stepped forward. "Come on, guys," he said, looking at his teammates. "We've faced worse. Let's give the kid a chance." With that small victory, Lucas realized that the marathon had just begun. But a first step had been taken. The day of the decisive game came faster than Lucas would have liked. União Atlético's stadium was packed, a stark contrast to the empty stands of previous weeks. The entire city seemed to have come to see what many believed was the last chance to avoid relegation. The tension was palpable, and Lucas felt the weight of every gaze on him. In the locker room, the atmosphere was tense. The players were nervous, some praying silently, others taking deep breaths, trying to focus. Lucas knew he needed to set the right tone before they took the field. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes for a moment, and began to speak. "I know you're all feeling the pressure today," he started, walking slowly through the locker room. "But remember one thing, this game isn't just about winning or losing, it's about proving to ourselves what we're capable of when we believe. I know many doubted me, just as they doubted you. But that's why today we have a unique chance to show everyone they were wrong." He paused, looking into each player's eyes. "I'm here for a dream my dad couldn't fulfill. But more than that, I'm here because I believe in each of you. I know we can win together. Let's play with our hearts, for our city, for those who believe in us, and even for those who don't." Lucas's speech seemed to ignite a spark in the players' eyes. Carlos, the veteran defender, gave a shout of encouragement. "Let's go, team! Let's show what we're made of!" When the whistle blew to start the game, União Atlético took the field with a different energy. Lucas on the sidelines felt his heart racing. The first half was tense, with both teams creating chances but failing to score. União Atlético's defense, guided by Lucas's instructions, was more cohesive than ever, and the goalie made some impressive saves. At halftime, the score was still 0-0. In the locker room, Lucas remained calm. "We're on the right track," he said. "Keep playing with the same intensity. The victory will come, I feel it. Just keep believing." The second half was even more intense. At 80 minutes, the opposing team nearly scored, but a miraculous save by União Atlético's goalie kept the score unchanged. At 89 minutes, Lucas made a risky substitution, putting in a young attacker who had been criticized for his lack of experience. And then, in the last minute of the game, the impossible happened. The young attacker stole the ball in midfield, dribbled past two defenders, and fired a shot into the corner of the net. The stadium erupted in joy. The final whistle blew. União Atlético had won. Lucas was overwhelmed with emotion. He ran onto the field, lifted by the players and cheered by the fans. His dream, his dad's dream, was now a step closer to reality. The news of União Atlético's victory spread quickly through, bringing a long-forgotten euphoria. At the hospital, the medical team did their best to make sure Joaquim could watch the sports news that night. Lucas arrived at his dad's room, still in his coaching uniform, heart racing. He held Joaquim's hand, who was still in a coma, and whispered, "Dad, we did it. The team won today, and it was beautiful. For you." The next day, Joaquim opened his eyes. Still weak, he managed a smile when he saw Lucas by his side. "I knew you could do it, son," he murmured with a hoarse voice. The emotion was so overwhelming that Lucas had to step out for a moment to breathe, his hands trembling, eyes misty. It was just one game, Dad, Lucas thought, but it was the first step. With renewed support from fans and growing confidence within the team, União Atlético, under Lucas's leadership, continued to surprise in the following weeks. The team, once demotivated, seemed to be reborn with new energy, playing with more passion and heart than ever. The press, once skeptical, now praised Lucas's bold and innovative tactics, highlighting his ability to inspire players and transform the team's spirit. As Joaquim's recovery progressed, Lucas continued to work hard, balancing his responsibilities as coach with daily hospital visits. Each victory on the field was a gift he brought to his dad, and each smile from Joaquim was fuel that motivated him to keep going. The team climbed the standings, and the hopes of a title that once seemed impossible began to feel like a real possibility. Finally, on the day of the championship's last match, União Atlético had a chance to win the title for the first time in decades. The stadium was packed and the pressure was immense, but Lucas was calm. He knew that, regardless of the result, he had already won by honoring his dad's dream and giving new life to the team. The game was a fierce battle, but União Atlético, inspired and united, managed to hold the tie needed to lift the trophy. When the final whistle blew, the stadium erupted in celebration. With tears in his eyes, Lucas raised the trophy to the sky, feeling the weight of his journey and the lightness of knowing he had kept his promise. At the hospital, Joaquim watched the game on television. With a weak but proud smile, he murmured, "You did it, my son." Seeing him there, Lucas felt there was no greater honor than that, fulfilling his dad's dream and finding his own path through the love of soccer. Later, Lucas decided to continue as União Atlético's coach. His mission was clear: to take the team even further, to keep inspiring young players, and to keep his dad's legacy alive. The city, once downcast, now breathed a new spirit. And so, Lucas discovered that soccer, for him, would always be more than just a game. It would be a story of love, perseverance, and dreams come true.